talk over the movies.
I know, that's why I said Shayna did it. He's like 69.
Got it. We are recording. Good. Rona said, make sure you
I
record.
don't talk over movies at all.
I don't talk.
Okay, folks, let's get started.
Yay.
Good to see you all today. So, today we finally arrive after doing all of the sections in Shema and its blessings leading up to the Shema. We arrive to the Shema itself. So, let's just take a quick look at that, review that structure a little bit. That we have Shema and its blessings here in the service after some introductory material. There's not very much introductory material in a regular evening service. In a Shabbat evening service, we have Kabbalat Shabbat, the Psalms, and before the Amidah, and before Torah reading in the morning. And as for Shema and its blessings itself, we've talked about the first blessing before the Shema, creation, Yotzer it's called, where we have roll into dark, El Chai V'Kayam, those things that are about God as that universal creator of all, for all humanity. And then we have Birkat HaTorah, revelation, Ahavat Olam in the evening service, a very similar prayer called Ahava Rabbah in the morning service, which is about God's revelation, God making God's self known to the Jewish people through the revelation of Torah. And that is with a very firm lens of that it is done with love. It's not done like as a burden, it's done as a loving act to give us guidance through life. And now we are at Shema, and Shema has three pieces from three different parts of the Torah. The first two are in Deuteronomy. This first one here, Deuteronomy 6, 4 through 9, is what we'll look at today. It's the line Shema itself and Ve'ahavta. A couple chapters later in Deuteronomy called V'Haya'im Shemoah, and this is a section that we do not do in the Reform liturgy generally, and we certainly never do it at TCS. And I think we talked a little bit about why at one point when we did some work on the Shema earlier, but maybe we'll take a brief look at that again. And then we have this section from Numbers, the book of Numbers, that we do the end of it. It's a paragraph that we do probably the last third of it. That's where Lama'an Tizkaru is. And the part before it is about tzitzit on talit as a reminder of mitzvot. So I'm going to stop the share. And let's get our Sidurim. We'll use our Sidurim today. And what I would like to do first is let's talk about first. I think we've talked a little bit about this before, but technically, this whole Shema, all those three parts, are not a prayer. The Hebrew term for it is Kriyat Shema, and that's from the verb root, kuf resh aleph, which means to read, and sort of to read publicly. It's not, in modern Hebrew, it's used if you're just like reading a novel in the privacy of your living room. But in this context, it more means to read out loud publicly. So let's do a little bit of review of the Hebrew and what we've done before. I'm going to read, I'm going to keep you all muted, and I invite you to read with me. I'm going to start on page 28 of the Siddur. So we get a little Hebrew under our belt, because I'm not sure if we'll do any other Hebrew today together. So we have this paragraph, and I'm going to start in the middle of the fourth line with the word borei. The reason I'm doing that, starting there, is that is the first bit of Hebrew that we ever do at services at TCS, because that is the Hebrew in page 28, Ruthie, the middle of the fourth line of the paragraph. The word borei, after the period, the word borei. That is where the Hebrew is in the prayer song, Roll Into Dark. So I'm just going to read from there to the end of the paragraph. So I invite you to read with me. Borei Yom Valayla Golel Or Mipnei Choshech V'choshech Mipnei Or Uma'avir Yom Umevi Laila Umavdil Bein Yom Uvein Laila Adonai Tzivaot Shemo. And here's El Chai V'Kayam. El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. All right, let's keep going. Turn the page to page 29, and here we have Ahavat Olam, and this is Revelation, Birkat Torah. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this before, that this, in addition to being thematically appropriate for enveloping Shema, this serves as, before we fulfill the mitzvah of studying Torah, we need to do a blessing. And this serves the purpose of the blessing over Torah. Just like when we do an aliyah to the Torah in the service, we do the Torah aliyah blessings. And if you study Torah privately, there's that la'asok b'divrei Torah blessing we could talk about another time. But so anyway, here we have Revelation with love. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah umitzvot Chukim umishpatim otanu limadeta al kain Adonai Eloheinu bishochvenu uvkumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha uvmitzvotecha leolam va'ed. Ki heim chayenu ve'orech yamenu uvahem nehegeh yomam valayla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu leolamim Baruch Ata Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Turn the page to 30. And now I'm going to read, and I invite you to read with me, Shema, Baruch Shem, and Ve'ahavta, starting at the top of the page. We'll skip that little line if there's no minion add. We could talk about that later if you'd like. No singing right now, just reading. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta 8 Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha vishinantam levanecha vidibarta bam bishivtecha bivetecha uvlechtecha vaderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot Bain Einecha Uchtavtam Al Mezuzot Beitecha Uvish Arecha. Let's stop there. We could do Laman, but let's stop there for today. So, let me just talk a little bit with you about these three paragraphs. We have them in front of us now. We've got two of them in front of us on page 30. So you can actually see, if you look on the English side, it's in the Hebrew too, but it will be easier for you to understand it in the English side, that Shema and Ve'ahavta, you see it says Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. And then you go about halfway down the page, and that paragraph that we don't do says Deuteronomy 11. That's chapter 11, verses 13 through 21. And if you turn the page to page 31, you see it says Numbers chapter 15, verses 37 through 41. Any questions about that? Okay, good. So, I'd like us to do Ruta in English today. So, and here's what I'd like us to work on. So, we've got three selections from the Torah here. I would really like us to focus just on the first, just on Deuteronomy 6, 4 through 9 for today. But what all three of these selections do, so the rabbis who created the prayer service chose these three selections as the most important parts of Torah, in their opinion, for Jewish people to study every day, to read every day, twice a day. You probably know, like it says in the first paragraph, we'll see where it says twice a day, where that's derived. And what are they trying to accomplish? Why? Focus on that first one first. Why is this so important? Why do they see this as so central to Judaism? I'll put some, so what I want from you is identify what are the main ideas, why do the rabbis choose this as the central passage from Torah to include in daily prayer, and what does that first line mean? What are some options? We've talked about this, so we'll go over it some more. If we really parse some of the phrases, what is the meaning here? Any questions about that? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions. Go ahead, Ruthie.
I'm lost. Where are we on the text? What page and what line? I'm sorry. I know we're looking at the English, but I'm still lost.
Page 30.
Yep, I'm there. You shall love, or if you
So
will.
we're starting with Hero Israel
Okay, yeah, okay.
through you shall love Adonai your God
Okay.
through the end of that paragraph.
Okay, so from the top to the middle of the paragraph in English, correct?
Now, if you feel like you've exhausted everything you could talk about there, you could go further. You could go into the second.
Okay. I'm not lost anymore.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Teresa?
So I heard the first 2 points. What is the main idea and why? Is it so important to them? Or why is it so important? What was the third one?
I'm going to write it in the chat as I'm
Okay. Thank you.
David, where is that line where you said to recite this twice a day?
Yeah, I don't see that either.
You need to find that in your Chevruta, Mike.
So it's within the two
It's
sections.
in there.
What's in
It's
the
in
text?
there. Oops.
Day and night.
So the problem with putting something in the chat like this is that once we go into breakout groups, you're not going to be able to see it.
Okay. Simple. Main idea.
Um,
Why daily time.
Okay, so here let's look in your chat. Shema consists of selections from the Torah that emphasize the essentials of Judaism. Could say the dogmas of Judaism. We don't usually use that term. Jews usually use that term for other religions in a derogatory way. But we certainly have them, so we've got no right to do that. Here's your Chevruta assignment. Read Shema and Ve'ahavta carefully in English and discuss what are the main ideas. Why do the rabbis choose this as the central passage from Torah to include in daily prayer? Make some notes so that you can share when we get back together.
Okay.
All right, let me make your breakout groups. Where are breakout groups? Breakout rooms. 2 rooms. Let's see what we come up with. All right, that's fine. Here we go.
Okay.